Live.
Yes. Tim McKernan Show podcast. Jackson, Bennett, Burkett, Tim McKernan with you. Mark Hanna, Evergreen Wealth Strategies, online at evergreenstl.com. Seth Goldcamp, Design Air Heating and Cooling, online at designairservice.com. James Carlton, online at carltoninsurance.net. They make this podcast possible. What you got? Jackson's playing an exclusive golf club today, and I just found out about it, but it's freezing, and now I'm wondering what he's going to do.
Yeah, most people who really have it going on play these exclusive clubs on Mondays.
On Mondays. That's usually the sign of like a certain kind of membership.
Yeah, it's certainly not the some sort of Hoosier tag-along.
Bow!
But that's kind of what I am today. Yes, I did. The forecast, as I saw it yesterday,
44 degrees as we sit here on March 31st, 2025 at 11:25 a.m.
Now it's saying around 2:30, balls in the air around that time. That's going to be around 51. If we can get to that, I'll be okay. But if it stays sub 45 degrees...
Boy, that's putting the man to the test.
With my ball contact, with the way I strike the golf ball, that's going to really hurt. And I don't want that. I don't want that at all. So we'll see. But hoping to get out there. Want to play... it's just hard. The spring weather, man, in St. Louis, even on a day when it's beautiful, it's usually super windy.
Yeah, the hawk is up. It's good to get your index up.
Yeah, and then even when it's nice and warm and not super windy, there's rain at some point that's coming. That's why
Course is going to be wet. That Zoysia is going to be smushy.
Those Illinois high school golfers have such an advantage playing in the fall. When not only have you played all summer and gotten your work in, but the weather, like Midwest fall is amazing. Midwest spring sucks. It sucks.
Kind of does.
It sucks. I mean, like
my wife always says her least favorite month is April because it kind of blue balls you.
It's a big blue ball. It's a tease. It's a real tease.
But I'm looking at this forecast as we sit here, and I was just bitching about it to Jackson off air. But we did have some great weather earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's raining every day this week or cold or both, as the case might be. 54 on Sunday, 53 on Monday. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Those tweener, especially like for us who wake up really early, like getting in your car when it's 40
That's
degrees.
What I was doing. I was 20-something when we got in the car this morning.
Yeah, super cold, and then you leave, and it's like in the mid-50s, and now you're all got too much clothes on. It's real pain in the ass.
Hey, if you're despondent, you can email into this podcast, T. McKernan at InsideSTL.com. Really would appreciate an erotic story. And you can send in anything, though, questions, comments, hate mail. Let me get this going right here, and you can always go back and watch the SOD. It's on the TMASTL channel, youtube.com/TMASTL. Co-founder of Fairmount Parks Players Club. I just went to the YouTube just real quickly. He says they stopped playing the radio broadcast in the concourse at Busch, trying to appease the yuppies experience. It was striking to hear and made it feel like you weren't at a ball game. I don't like it.
I don't like that at all. I love that they would have the radio, like in the bathroom.
Well, there's a lot going on with this. They used to play it in the concourse. I didn't go to a game against the Twins this weekend.
Nor did I.
The term yuppie is a 101 ESPN balloon party hate word.
Yeah.
So that puts me on high alert, or a word from 86.
I was going to say, antiquated a little.
Now, with that said, even if this is from one of our friends on 101 ESPN who just does not enjoy our presence, that doesn't take away the merit of the post in the YouTube chat. I didn't know that, if that's the case. In yuppies were complaining?
I don't know. Like, why?
There aren't a whole lot of young, upwardly mobile professionals in St. Louis who are Cardinal fans.
Not enough where you would cater an entire game day experience.
So that's why I'm kind of intrigued by that.
I don't know why they would dislike it.
Co-founder of Fairmount Park Players Club says, I enjoy your presence greatly. Well, thank you so much. But I'm just telling you that the yuppies thing, that's not a word I had heard for real. I hadn't experienced anti-Catholic texts. I was surprised to see anti-Semitic text directed towards Jackson's way, but less surprised, if it makes sense, towards, especially being in St. Louis on the Catholic thing.
Bingo.
Neither here nor there. And then the word yuppie when we were doing Balloon Party. So I'm just curious about yuppies complaining about, like, why would anybody care if the play, like,
it's like,
if I were the Cardinals, I'd say fuck off.
Exactly. Because already, and I think people have alluded to this before, either on TMA or elsewhere, that like the concourse at Busch, for as great as Busch Stadium is, and it's an outstanding baseball stadium, like when you're in the concourse, you can't really see the action. You're kind of closed off. Having the radio broadcast, especially in the bathroom, I loved it.
Yeah,
hearing
Hulk Hogan's
Claves.
T-shirt says that nothing better than standing next to your counterpart at the urinal and hearing a home run call.
It is. I've been like.
Do you high five your buddy?
I would, depending on how
top
many bush lights have entered my person. But yeah, I would definitely. I love that. I've been in the bathroom when the home run's gone down, and it's exciting. It's not great to hear from our friends in the stall. You know me, I'm anti-stall talk.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been great on LBJ's cabinet.
Do you think there was a gentleman in the stall when David Freese hit his triple or a home run?
Yeah.
You do?
I think just by sheer math of it, yes. But where were you? Who has it worse? Doug being in the parking lot and not seeing it, or a guy mid-recreational in the stall?
During those moments.
Yeah.
Bush is an average ballpark. Not bad, not great. That's from the Maryland Heights Meat Massage.
I'm just going off what other people say. I've only been to a couple of ballparks.
I've been to a good number. I think it's fine. I would go in the fine category. Okay. However, I think it's important to establish this. I think the ballpark you grew up at is always going to be your favorite.
Sure.
And so I am biased towards Busch Stadium too. And kind of like when I see pictures of the golf course we played down in Jupiter, actually, the Preserve at Iron Horse, it makes my heart speed up.
Yeah.
When I see Ella Reese post on Instagram a non-hiking post, it makes my heart speed up.
Sure.
When I see pictures of Busch Stadium too, it makes my heart speed up.
Sure.
This ballpark does not have that effect for me. But I also understand the Cardinals had to they privately funded a good portion of it. So, but either way,
I think it receives a lot of love because of the backdrop.
Yeah.
Because the view from behind home plate is pretty outstanding.
But it's got to be one of the smallest skylines in Major League Baseball. I realize the skyline isn't in play with the exception of, I don't even know, Cleveland, Baltimore to an extent, Pittsburgh, if you're up high enough.
Pittsburgh's probably the most famous one.
Yeah. But I mean, but skyline-wise, I think St. Louis probably has the smallest skyline. I would think.
But it also has probably the tallest
monument. The gateway to the west is the gateway to the best
thing behind it. Because even like Wrigley Field, you can't see. Maybe on a clear day you could see Sears Tower, but probably not.
Not in the batter's eye. You're
definitely not
pointed toward the lake.
Right.
Tim. So I know under the previous regime of the show, there was a zero politic policy. Well, that was for the purpose of clarification. That was something that me, Jackson, Doug, Iggy, and who else? Rocky, I think.
Yeah.
That did the show on January 7th, 2021. After the debacle that was the broadcast of January 7th, 2020, we just in a group text said, yeah, it's probably better if we don't talk politics. But anyway, just for the purpose of that was not a Hubbard edict or a KFNS edict. It does seem more so now that politics have been popping up more and more. And it is often one-sided, like the downtown issue. And I know there is an issue, but no one ever seems to mention how a lot of people don't have the money to go down to the games. Doug and Martin just seemingly take the right side of things. And it seems you stick with no political talk from before, which I totally respect. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on this, maybe. Period. I love the show, and I love Doug and Martin, but some of the comments do turn me off a bit. Anyways, I enjoy the shows, and your thoughts as always. Thanks. That's from the 618. I don't have a creative name sent from my iPhone. All right, fair enough. I think that Martin and I and you probably voted for the same person, so it's kind of intriguing to me that, like, I've been called MAGA Tim in the text inbox. I mean, as you can imagine, that's a minority in the 101 ESPN text inbox, but nonetheless, and I think it's because of the Libby Jack thing. Like, I'm the one who gave you that name. I don't even know who gave it to myself. Oh, did you really?
I think we were doing QFTA, and I was like, "Oh, Libby Jack here," while I gave some, probably left-leaning take, and I think. Probably Bucks was someone brought it from the podcast onto there, and
Libby Jack. I like the
way it's like love.
Yeah,
tongue work.
Now, my question in response, I don't know what to say. I don't really feel like Martin talks politics. Doug has certain things, but I don't think he's necessarily like going political. I guess they're just considered political.
I think that downtown can get political adjacent, maybe, but I wouldn't call it straight political.
Downtown's a shithole. That has, and I think you can have voted for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris and call that ball a ball and a strike a strike.
Right.
I mean, oftentimes we have the conversation because I do think many a time people give the observation and haven't worked or lived down there. And Doug did work down there for decades. I worked down there and had my offices there for Inside STL, and I lived there. And went there last year with my family to City Museum and was stunned by how much it had taken a step backwards. So I don't really think that that's like I'm liberal or I'm conservative calling that shot. I don't know. I don't know.
It'd be tough to like kind of work around the fact that downtown is having some major issues.
Right. I don't know. So I don't see it as such. Maybe it's because today, and I think it was Chairman Steve who called Doug on it when Doug was saying the reason for the bad attendance is people aren't feeling safe going downtown, and then Chairman Steve texted in, do you think the Blues games will be empty because of the crime downtown?
Right. Yeah. It's a good point. It's always listener of the year.
Chairman Steve, 2023, Jackson. Yeah. Listen, I understand the question. I guess what I'm saying is the impetus for the question I respectfully disagree with, because I don't think saying downtown's a shithole is a liberal or a conservative perspective, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, yeah, I'm not interested in talking politics on TMA, and I don't really feel like we talk a lot of politics on TMA either. What we do is talk St. Louis-centric conversations that I suppose if you wanted to be political, I guess you could take it that way. But again, I think me, you, and Martin voted for the same person. Right. I'm virtually certain of that. I would bet heavily on it.
Ralph Nader,
of course, being the Jill Stein, friend of the show, only presidential candidate to ever be on TMA, I believe. She was on in 2016.
Wow.
Yeah. Why? I don't know. Might speak volumes for the campaign.
Gabe hasn't considered running. I'd vote for Gabe.
The Colonel?
Yeah.
Colonel and I are hosting the Missouri Quarterback Club of St. Louis tomorrow.
It's coming up, right? It's tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Nice. That'll be fun.
Gabe texted me, he goes, forgot we're doing this. Can you remind me? Otherwise, I think I might forget to come in. And I go, and I just texted him like a half hour ago. I said, hey, man, if these people show up, and I think they're not necessarily the TMA demographic,
right,
and they're stuck with just me, oh God.
Yeah.
Because I think they're interested in like the recruiting stuff. I don't know.
Right. And you can only give so much in that department.
Oh, it would be. So I said, hey, this is your reminder. Drive in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Don't do this to me.
Yeah, seriously. Leaving you high and dry in that spot would be tough.
Don't do this to me. Because I'm going to point out that they probably should have lost to Vanderbilt, Auburn, and Oklahoma, and that's not going to play well.
No, definitely, especially the Oklahoma one.
Right.
That'd be like it's in people's craw. And discrediting the Ohio State one.
Let's see. All right, on to more important things. Who is meeting their demise on White Lotus next week? Jackson, you love doing this podcast, not only because you get to work with what many people consider to be the greatest broadcaster of all time, but also because it's your place to paint your White Lotus canvas.
All right. Spoiler warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll also put it in the timestamps in the podcast.
Yep.
So listening later. I was telling Tim in the commercial break 101, I watched last night's episode. Really lost a lot of momentum to me that they built incredibly well in the last 2 episodes. Certainly the most perverse we've seen White Lotus.
Nice.
With the brother-on-brother loving.
And you liked that.
Following the Sam Rockwell monologue, you're like, how are they going to top this perversion? Don't worry, hold my beer. Kennedy is going to be yanking on a Schwarzenegger. Wild. The confusing thing to me is the Tim Ratliff, Jason Isaac thing. I mean, we're just going to have him be zombie mode, contemplating this for the rest of he's got to do so. He's got to get an update, like get a call in with your lawyer, talk to somebody so that we can get some momentum. Because you just waddling around. By the way, his family doesn't know this, that he's like a complete. I think he said 10 words in the last 4 episodes, and everyone's just like, oh yeah, old Tim. You never know. Really odd to me. Who will meet their demise? I think we're going to see multiple characters meet their demise.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think our friend Gaitak, who might be the worst security guard in the history of security, could be in a bad shape. I think one or maybe even multiple of the Russian friends we've met could be on their way down. And I think one of the Ratliff members. Actually, you know what? I think all the Ratliff survive.
Okay.
I think there's going to be an attempt on their lives by the patriarch himself. But overall, I thought the last episode was wholly unsatisfying.
Now, I was telling Jackson when we were having this conversation during commercial break on TMA, we started watching it last night like exactly at 9 o'clock, even though it aired at 8 o'clock. The 3-year-old doesn't go to bed until late, the witching hours. Well. He does enjoy the program. And so we get him to bed, and we start, and my Whoop says I fell asleep at 9:29. But I know I woke back up and saw the end of it, but I missed a portion of it. Okay. So I'm going to go back and rewatch it. With that said, because I wasn't sure, I'm like, did I fall asleep? This had nothing to do with the quality of the show. I take my pills and I'm gone. That I was thinking, I don't think anything really happened in this episode. No. And my understanding is there's some criticism of White Lotus Season 3 out there. I didn't know that until recently. Right. That not a lot has happened yet. Now, I have enjoyed the hell out of it, in particular, the last 2 episodes. And I've got to rewatch episode 5. There's 6 episodes, right? And this is... No, there's 8 episodes, so this last one was episode 7. Really? Penultimate. There's already been 7? That's what people are saying, is that he might have had a 6 or 7 episode plot and was given 8 episodes. Really? Because this last episode was a huge spinning their wheels. Just like... going nowhere. I thought this was episode 5. I thought it was only 6 episodes. Okay. Either way, I got to rewatch it, but I kind of, when it ended, I'm just like, oh. It's just but maybe I slept through the important parts. No, I mean, true. And I thought the same thing. How often is the guy from The Patriot? Yeah, Jason Isaac. Going? How many times are they going to show that? I know. It's just kind of weak. I don't know. And it's been real. Like I thought the last episode when he had a conversation with the monk was really good. Like I thought that was like outstanding and like a way to move that forward. But this last episode, no one really did. There was nothing of consequence that happened. In the penultimate episode, which is setting up for like a pretty cool finale, I think, cool resolution, but I just don't think that it was really weird. They had such momentum and they did not follow up on it, in my opinion. And I really like this season. I'm with you. I think this has been an outstanding season. But if last night's episode, if they can't land the plane on the 8th episode, I'll be like, wow, damn. Yeah. And I hold this show in such high regard. Because like the whole time we're worrying about who's going to die, who's going to be the person at the end who ends up dead. But really we stick around and come back because the characters that are created are so good and it's so relatable. Like you all have a friend group like the Carrie Coon, Michelle Monaghan, Leslie Bibb friend group. You know people like that. You know people like the Ratliff family. You know the people just like that. You know a Belinda in your life, the masseuse. Like you know people like this, and so you put them in this pressure cooker. It's just outstanding television, and that's why we come back week after week. But this last episode, it needed some sort of plot movement. I didn't think we got it. That's what I think. But again, I feel like I missed 10 minutes of it, and sure. I don't feel that. But it's interesting to me that you said that unsolicited during the commercial break, and I'm like, oh yeah, that reminds me. Yeah, I was frustrated. But also, if they wanted to do a Goggins Rockwell spinoff TV show or movie, just those two hanging out in Bangkok, that's like incredible. And I didn't know that Leslie Bibb, who plays Kate in White Lotus, and Sam Rockwell been together for like 18 years. Hey, if you don't mind, and this is probably misogynist. Sure. But that's my brand, actually. Yeah, no doubt. It always has been. Could you rank the 3 Cougars in your order of appearance of what you find to be the most attractive to least? No doubt. Michelle Monaghan, number 1. Carrie Coon, number 2. Leslie Bibb, number 3. Okay, yeah, I think it's universal on 1. Is 2 because Leslie Bibb clearly is going to Bricktops? Some about Carrie Coon, like this last 2 episodes where she's kind of been... Well, she did a little Ella Reese. Yeah, there's no doubt. That's always the key. No doubt. And she just seems like the more fun hang.
You know what I'm saying? Like Leslie Bibbs in her PJs at the pool party with the Russians. Meanwhile,
well, but she's playing a character, but she's married to Sam Rockwell.
For sure, but I can't. It's tough for me to separate.
So you can't separate the two.
Tough.
Brilliant.
At the moment, it just seems like Carrie Coon has a great time, and I like that.
Yeah, she put it down.
No doubt.
The Russian gentleman with the snake tat.
No doubt. A lawyer, so you know that discourse can get real fun. The banter can be really out there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but Michelle Monaghan, number one. I mean, she's in a class of
lawyers as freaks.
I wouldn't say necessarily freaks, but I think
I'm trying to think if I've ever slept with a lawyer. Now that I think about it,
they don't live in the underbelly, but they visit the underbelly often, and I think that takes a toll on you.
How about that?
Like you're not a criminal by any means, or you're not, but you deal with them a lot. Especially,
she's like a corporate counsel.
Yeah, but that also that underbelly can be worse than some criminals. It's the real crime. It's the real carnage.
Too Fat to Kayak agrees with you, Jackson. Last night's momentum slowed to a near screeching halt.
Yeah. I just did not think that it has maintained momentum from where it has been, which has been awesome.
Co-founder of Fairmount, and I agree with you. I got to rewatch. I'll rewatch today. Right. Co-founder of Fairmount Parks Players Club says, "Sorry, I got sidetracked, but my main point on the concourse thing was that the Cardinals are trying to prioritize the Instagram world over a true baseball experience. Thanks for the discussion." So this is about them getting rid of the radio broadcast. I'm just surprised that happened. I almost feel like there might have been a technical issue.
Yeah, that seems more likely than trying to appease to, like, people
I could text Bill DeWitt the third, and he gets back to me right away. Somehow some asshole will be like, "Oh, nice brag." It's not that. In fact, what I'm trying to say is he's very accessible when I ask him these questions regarding these kinds of things. But I almost want like somebody else to go, "Yeah, this happened. I noticed that they got rid of it." I'm just really surprised by that.
Yeah.
I know this. One of the things I loved when I went to AT&T Park, which is now Oracle, I guess, in San Francisco, is the concession people are not allowed to do like their sketches and bits when they're pitching it. Yeah. They just can. I don't know if it's a San Francisco law or if it's a California law. I've been to Dodger Stadium. I've been to the old Oakland Coliseum. I don't remember. I mean, nobody was at the Oakland Coliseum. So I don't know if it's a California thing or if it's a San Francisco thing, but they just can walk up and down, and they're not doing the
hot dog screaming at the top of their
and
lungs.
I loved that. But I remember talking about it when I got back from that ballpark, and it was like
didn't play well.
I'm sure if it would have been in Kansas City, it would have been the greatest. But since it's San Francisco, let's see. Are you guys going to do a White Lotus breakdown in anticipation of the series finale next week? Sorry if I missed it. Just tuned in. Cheers. It's Ball and Beer, bitch.
Yeah.
And Jackson and I just were talking about White Lotus Ball and Beer, bitch. So you can go back and talk about it.
10 minutes on your YouTube stream, and you'll hear all about it.
No. Let's see what I got here. What archetype of leader will it take to make significant changes to improve the city? Will we see that person as a mayor in the next 10 to 20 years? That's from Bill's Holes. God. I think the absolute core issue is for somebody who is capable, that person won't want the job. And so that is why, I think in a way, that's why politics are, I think the absolute Roman numeral number one, if I were to build my outline over the last 3 decades, it would be news media, political news media in particular, and the bubbles and the echo chambers and the business model of getting people angry. That's Roman numeral number one, without question. But then you get into why would somebody who, whether they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, goes, okay, I make X per year, or I have a net worth of Y, and now I'm going to have, no matter what I do, even if I'm acting, morally correct and ethical, I'm going to have a group of people commit to calling me and my family names and make shit up about me. And yet I've got the world kind of by the balls. Why would I do that? And so that is actually one of the bigger issues. And I may have told the story before. If I have, I apologize. A friend of mine who I truly think would have been a great, I don't know, talk about whatever level, pretty close to my age. So you ever think about running for this or that? And he said, I would never do that to my family. And I go, oh, Wow. Like that wasn't the reason was like, I don't know if I like the campaign or the whole fundraising thing or the bullshit that I'm talking about. He's like, I would never do that to my family. Like I wouldn't put my family through that. And that conversation happened like a decade ago. And it's, I think, obviously worse. So the mayor of the city of St. Louis makes what, Jackson?
Ooh, 80,000?
No, more than that. I think. I mean,
$120?
I'm going to go $150.
Okay. I'm just going off the president makes what, 400?
161,820.
Okay.
And from my standpoint, that's a nice amount of money. But from my standpoint, somebody who really has the I don't give, because you need the I don't give a fuck.
Right.
You don't like me, fuck you.
Right.
I'm rolling with the New Jack Crew, and that's Ice-T, Hustler, 1991. Am I right?
That sounds right.
And if somebody needs the 161, they can't be in the I don't care, you don't like me, fuck you mindset.
Right.
And that person needs to then assemble around them 3 or 4 other don't fucking care. This is the way that it has to be done, and it's going to be unpopular, and we're going to be called all kinds of names, take your pick, whatever, doesn't matter. That's what has to happen. But that person also not only has to draw the hatred of many city residents, they'll draw the hatred of many county residents, because the right thing is for St. Louis City to be rolled into St. Louis County, which St. Louis County people will hate. So you'll have people who are on the left in the city hate you, and you have people on the right in the county who will hate you, and have fun. Now, probably in 20, 25 years, they'll name some things after you, because in the end, you will have done great things for the region. But at the outset, you will be incredibly unpopular. And in order to withstand that and go, fine, fuck, vote me out, but I don't care. In the meantime, we're going to get some things done. You have to be in a position to go, I don't fucking care. Fuck off. I'm doing what I know is right. So who's going to do that for $161,000? Right. Somebody who doesn't need the $161,000 and is just like, I'm committed. That to me is the answer. What do you think, kind sir?
Yeah, I think that's very poignant, all that, what you just said there. And I think you could go all the way up to POTUS when you're talking about like the person who's most capable.
What does the president make? When I was
a
kid, I was like, I was about to say it was 400.
I thought it was 400.
Think it's the same now?
I would assume. That'd be tough to go through Congress of like a billionaire who's like, yeah, I think I want an uptick. And
it's a fixed annual salary of $400. Nicely done. Tip of the cap. You get $50,000 a year in expenses.
Nice. Yeah.
$100,000 a year in travel allowance.
I'd like to see the end result of that per year. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the president is.
Wow. Now the salary increased in 2001 when it was raised from $200,000 to $400,000.
Wow.
I think somebody's like, I would do it, but I need 400.
Yeah, George W. is like, no, this is
I know I owned a baseball team.
Yeah,
and my father was president, but
I can't
do this for anything less than 400.
I guess you have good negotiating leverage. You go all the way up to POTUS when you say like the person most capable, or or the person who would be the best at it, or some people who would be the best at it, wouldn't want the exposure. I actually referenced Rick and Morty on
you did
TMA today, and it's obviously a goofy comedy, but there's a poignant moment that the president in that show, they have a president of the United States character in that show, is played by the great Keith David, voiced by him, and he makes a statement where he's like, you try having a prestigious presidency after Facebook was invented. And it's goofy, but it's poignant in a way, because it's like true. Like, how are you going to be like who wants to be under that kind of microscope? Even in St. Louis, who wants to be in that for a thankless job where? This is where I think, and maybe the person in charge could make a change, but it obviously takes the whole state. And you can only do so much without the city and county merging. And I feel like I say that, I guess I'm a broken record when I say that, but I just don't think that much can get done without that happening. And I don't think just one person can make that happen. I think it needs a serious money behind it in terms of a campaign, and people out there are probably like, what's not going to get done? Like, it just probably can't get done. So what's the point? And so we'll kind of check boxes until then. That sucks, but that's kind of I think the nature of it.
Kara Spencer is most likely going to be the mayor of St. Louis. She is leading by a very comfortable margin. The election for the mayor of St. Louis between her and Tashara Jones is a week from tomorrow, as Jackson and I sit here. And what I thought was an intriguing article in the Post-Dispatch yesterday, you can read it at stltoday.com, kind of a profile on her that I realized they know based on how she performed in the initial vote that she is going to win. Sure, it'd be awfully interesting if she didn't for other reasons. But this is the intro to the story. For most of an hour last weekend, Alderwoman Kara Spencer told a room full of people at a candidate forum about her vision for the city. It involved a lot of change. The city would be safer, bigger, stronger, more efficient, more functional, more populous. And then Mayor Tashara Jones, in a rebuttal, scoffed, "It's easy to criticize something when you've never run it." That's Tashara Jones. And here's the thing, as somebody who gets criticized for shit, and I know that people are saying things that aren't necessarily accurate, but what do you do? I totally agree with that. I also would say this. I think if Kara Spencer actually can do it, I would tip my cap. I don't think in its current structure it is actually fixable. Mm-hmm. So I think everybody, including Tashara Jones, goes into the gig with great intent of fixing it, and then realizes, holy crap.
Right.
And I think so. Again, it kind of goes to the structure of the region, and I just don't think it's really likely that it's fixable. But that doesn't mean that the person who is currently in office or the person who will be in office is a bad person or is incompetent. Whoever you think is the greatest politician, put that person as the mayor of the city of St. Louis in 2025, and I would say they would have their hands full, which I realize might sound like a crowd-pleasing statement, but I think it's unfortunately the case.
Yeah. That'd be a real test of acumen there, and I just don't know. Yeah, with the way it's set up, you're right. Like I just don't think it is.
Bill's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying feasible.
Bill's Hole says, "I'm not a city resident, so I can't speak to it. What's the overall gut feel on Kara Spencer?" From folks here. And as she said in the article, "I'm making a lot of promises." Actually, she's quoted, "There are moments where I think I've made a lot of promises, but that's kind of the deal." She goes, "I know it's hokey, but I truly believe in St. Louis. Somebody has got to pull us out of decline." And I agree with that, but the core issue, and maybe I'm wrong. Hey, man, it'd be great if she can. The core issue is bigger than an individual.
Yes.
And so, the core issues are bigger than an individual. Ken Warren, a longtime pollster and political science professor at St. Louis University, said, "I've been here since the 70s. I've heard the promises by each mayor since that time. None of them have been able to fix the city's problems." So that is what he said in response. So there you go. It'll start with enthusiasm, and it will, I think, unfortunately, go back to more of what we have seen. So there you go. Jackson, anything you want to tend to? You want to talk about anything? Any threesomes you had this weekend or anything?
No threesomes.
None?
No.
Close?
No. Well, didn't even really try. When
is the last time you did try?
I talked about the throat clearing. That would have been circa 2017, maybe 18. And so when that didn't work, I figured, that was my best shot.
If you could go back to that, for the record, for those not familiar with the anecdote, Jackson is pleasuring his lover in a dorm room?
This
frat
was
room?
Frat room, not pleasuring yet, but we were both in bed together.
And there was another girl in the frat.
A friend of my then girlfriend was in the room, kind of just hanging out.
Was this the same girl who wanted anal pleasure?
The girlfriend at the time was.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you'd already denied her that.
Maybe was just getting ready to.
This was the same night of that?
No.
God, I was about to say, this is like a Forrest Gump moment.
Very similar.
And there's another girl in like a bed across the room.
Couch, yeah.
And and what's she doing? She's playing Hey Diddle Diddle with her Skittle.
More likely playing Doodle Jump on her iPhone, or checking Snapchat or something.
Right.
But yeah,
And then your move to get her to join you was to clear your throat.
The move was twofold. I would clear my throat, and that would either alert her, hey, curtains are about to come down, clear out, or, maybe,
Maybe you want to see what the word is.
Yeah, maybe we could bring in an understudy. And the former happened, so mission accomplished.
Right.
But, yeah.
But if you could go back to that moment, would you do anything differently?
Nope. Feel really good about that.
That's just, so 2025 politics. Never apologize.
Yeah, double down. Well, asking could have been another twofold, where then that girl hates my guts, and then my girlfriend promptly breaks up with me. So
I think you say to your girlfriend, hey, your friend's still in the room.
Right. And then see what happens from there. Yeah.
You're going to collect more information.
It's true. It's true.
There's 2 spades on the board now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to fire at the pot.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to make it clear this is not my current girlfriend. This was
this is we got to clear.
Years, probably, we're going 7 years back here. Yeah, that probably would have, that ascertaining that information could have been valuable. But again, sometimes you got to think on your feet.
No, I get it. I get it. But now that you're here, now that it's been 8 years, would you like to go back and do something different?
No, butterfly effect. Who knows what happens if I do ask? Maybe I might not be working here. I could.
If you would have had the threesome, you think that would have been a disqualifier? Even
I'm not
I've
saying.
Talked often about a gentleman masturbating at the end of my bed, in my office chair.
Right. Well, I figured that I shouldn't put that in my cover letter.
You were the guy? I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah, I wheeled it in.
You would have been like 2.
Right, which then a bunch of other questions would have to been asked. No, the butterfly effect, you never know what could have happened from that moment. Maybe it would have led to a downward spiral. Could have been my demise. You never know, but that's the butterfly effect.
You get addicted to the less popular.
Right, yeah, and then I'm constantly in pursuit. Then I'm Sam Rockwell in White Lotus, and I'm wearing loafers and just drinking chamomile tea, trying to wash my memories out of my mind.
Well, they disagree with you in the YouTube chat. Shame on you, Jackson. Give the lady what she wants. That's from the Hulk Hogan's T-shirt. The D-Gen from Jeffco says, gotta roll the dice, Jackie YOLO. Hulk Hogan's T-shirt, you'll never score if you don't shoot. Yeah, he'd be working at QT now. And then Too Fat to Kayak says, pucks on nets, Jackson, pucks on nets.
The throat clearing was the puck on the net. It was a weak wrister.
Really, but if we play it out, really, even in the worst stag film,
right?
A lady doesn't go, oh, and then she hears a gentleman clear his throat and then just starts engaging and starts servicing you or your female friend who is being disallowed from having her cavities filled.
Well, certainly one. Yeah, one could say that, but again, I was assigning about 90% likelihood that she would just leave, which would be great. I would get to, again, curtains are coming down. Or I guess curtains would be going up. I need to get to the theater again. And then 10% that there would be a joining situation. And I was comfortable with that split, I was very comfortable with the split. So, no, I have no regrets. Absolutely none, We don't live in the past. We keep moving forward, keep moving the chain.
I'm trying to think. I ever had, because I've made it clear to the audience this, Jackson. I don't even need the Sapphos. I just like
Sapphos to be in the air.
Yes.
The essence of Sapphos.
The essence of Sapphos.
I thought
title of the podcast.
Yeah, beautiful. I thought for a moment also, quick White Lotus spoiler, 3, 2, 1.
You thought there was going to be Sapphos?
I thought.
When?
I don't know if you got to this point yet. Or you?
I'm not gone. It might have been when I was asleep.
But there was a moment where cuckoldry was on the table for young Patrick Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought when he denied being the bull, that our friend from French Canada would turn to Amy Lou Wood, the hot tooth lady, as Van Lathan's called her. The hot tooth lady, and be like, well, could you help out? And I thought that was going to be our moment of Sapphos.
That didn't even. Okay. I haven't sensed any Sapphos throughout.
There was a moment of pure Sapphos when there was some makeout.
Yeah, and see, that just shows where we differentiate. Yeah. Because, yes, I agree, but for me, and I think I am in the minority on this, the thing where girls just kiss, giggle, tee-hee, while it by definition is physically Sapphos, it's not.
You would prefer even talking about real Sapphos as opposed to that dog and pony show Sapphos.
Yeah, where it's like, hey, look at us.
Right.
Here's our attention. We haven't gotten an Instagram account yet, so give it to us here. We're going to make out. Thing.
Yeah. It's like hitting on the mats versus hitting on the grass.
It didn't even. Thank you. We need that divot after the ball, and you got to here. This is it right here.
Right.
Here, look at this.
Right.
And it's not comfortable.
It's a similar wrist to what Kerry Coon was doing.
Not comfortable.
With our Russian friend.
This is where our shaft lean is here, right? At our point of impact. I've been working on this nonstop. Yeah. By the way, it's insane. Yeah, that's. I'm trying to think when I've had it, and I just haven't had it.
Yeah, there hasn't been a real, true moment of Sapphos being on the table, and honestly, in the entire series' history, which is surprising.
I agree. If we can play it back, Sydney Sweeney and
Alexandra Dario.
oh my God, forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah, that'd be.
Oh,
One could say it would have peaked too early.
oh, God almighty.
Because Armand, the hotel manager, has been, I think, the best character in the series.
And he
so far.
bottomed, didn't he?
Yeah, he certainly
Yeah, if
did.
we're going to jack around there, well, I think we ought to jack. I think it's only fair. I think they're discriminating against the lesbian community. I might get that going on Twitter today.
He also shat in a suitcase, which for a hotel manager is a bold play. But again, that's why Armand is our true king.
Throat clearing was a dribbler that rolled foul. That's in the D-Gen from Jeffco.
There was an essence of Sappho's in season 2 with the hotel manager trying to hook up with one of the concierge who was in a hetero relationship.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That
didn't do it for me, though.
Because he knew
She's
it wasn't.
probably my age, but she looked old to me.
She had seemed like she had lived a hard life.
Yeah. I think the lead here is that Jackson can't close deals when all the chips are on the table. You're taking some
I probably
serious
had.
YouTube.
What I mean probably. I had sex that night, just not with 2 women. So kiss my ass.
Do you think your girlfriend at that time, who was not fulfilled anally,
Right.
do you think she was interested in girl-girl activity? Because you got to have a read on that.
It wouldn't have surprised me if she was.
It's great to hear. We ought to have her on the show.
Eh.
What about the one that was playing Hey Diddle Diddle?
Also wouldn't have surprised me.
Wow, God, that was so. I mean, oh wow.
Right. It wouldn't have surprised me, but I did not have concrete evidence that they would be into it.
I'm so hungry for it that I read it into people who have zero interest.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to remove yourself, maybe bird's eye view,
Yeah, I do.
and re-examine certain situations because confirmation bias is a real thing.
I am certain I've told this story before, but it gives an illustration. Was it Cheshire 2003? I think it was.
Right.
Did you ever get to experience the Cheshire? Probably predates
No,
you.
because it's what Basso now. It's like that. It's like
Yeah, but like where the bar was. I think the bar is still there. I think.
Okay.
It was a pony. That was a legitimate pony.
It would stay open until what 3 a.m.
Yeah, and that was a legitimate pony. And I was convinced that the girl I was with at the time and her friend, who's attractive, I'm trying to think who she looks like. She's an actress, kind of looks, and I'm like, oh fuck it, and I'm drunk, but I'm like, oh, it's on, like for real.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is going to be, because they're like friends.
Yeah.
So now, I'm not talking with anybody about this, but in my mind, I'm like, already playing it out. It's going to be wonderful, of course. And then we're going to have this weird situation the next morning because they're like really friends.
Right.
And then the friend goes, hey, we got to hit White Castle on the way home. And at that moment, I go, oh,
Yeah, that's.
I'm beside myself.
Lesbian-
I like the idea of the White Castle stop, but that's not where my head was. And once I hear that, I'm like, well, we're thinking 2 different things.
Lesbianism, certainly that you'd want to be a part of or at least adjacent to, and cheese castles don't mix. They don't mix. Honestly,
It was alarming.
sex of any kind in cheese castles.
I mean, I was 100. I mean, in my mind, I was 100%. I'm like, this shit's gonna happen. God, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
And then the White Castle come, and I go, what the fuck? And I'm like angry, and I'm angry at her, and she had given off zero indication of anything else.
Right. Right. Your mind is playing tricks on you.
That's what I'm saying.
And now here we sit 22 years later.
Yeah, and I'm still, and see, that's what's going to happen to you in 2039. You're going to be doing a podcast with some guy who's 8 right now.
Yeah.
And you're going to be talking about
Best of luck
clearing
to
your
that
throat. Iggy is in the YouTube chat. He says the hooker singer and the hotel manager hooked up last season.
That's true. Yeah, it's absolutely true.
So I'm trying to picture what the hooker singer. She was Italian?
She was Italian, but she was not the main pro
Okay.
who slept with Albie. And
You're called Albie the Simpson.
which is tough but fair. I think if you were to stereotype me, I could have a lot of Albie in me. But so her friend,
And the hotel manager is the one who looked like she had a tough life, right?
hotel manager looked like she lived
Who was
hard.
probably my age, but I felt like she was in her 60s.
Couple of darts in her life, probably a lot of sun. And but the prostitute and her friend, the friend hooked up with the hotel manager. That is absolutely true.
Okay.
That's a great call, Iggy. And there was real lesbianism on it, but it didn't seem passionate.
Like she was going through the motions?
Seemed like a transaction
like
based.
the kiss
Yeah.
in the current season.
Right, which led to then an incestual kiss, a gay incestual kiss at that.
For that matter.
And some thought they would stop there. Mike White said, "Hold my beer."
Playing it out, then only to be blue balled. I don't know if he's talking to you or me. I don't know.
Could work for either of us.
All I know is in my mind, I was certain it was going to happen.
You felt the essence of Sappho's.
I did. And then I had the friend who would prey on girls and
Really?
turn them in the bathroom.
Oh, a spatula.
And she was hot. And that was the greatest. But it was going on in the bathroom. So I wasn't.
you weren't privy to it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
God. Oh, it was so good.
Producer Joe once walked into something he thought was a bathroom, but it turned out to be.
That was the women's stripper locker room at Hollywood Nights, circa 2006. And I mean, on an angle, his head was cutting through the wind. His eyes, he hadn't blinked in days. And his arms were moving like a child learning to run as he went, thinking he was going to the restroom, only to walk into the stripper's dressing room. And then you could count 1, 2, 3, and then he's back out and he's walking with a purpose the other direction.
Lucky he still had a nose that was intact. I mean, seriously, how many times do you think those people, the strippers in there, have heard, "Oh, I thought this was the bathroom," and it was just some
I
creep?
think the blank look on his face let them know this guy really didn't.
He's not necessarily
didn't
there.
know.
He's not playing with a full deck. Yeah.
Guys, I spent my wedding night at the Cheshire in 2008 at Jungle Room. Fucking weird. Thanks, T-Jen from Jeffco. Yeah, I've never been in the hotel rooms. I don't think at the Cheshire, just in the bar. Cheshire bar equals bee's knees. Yeah, that was a pony. That was a legit pony.
Yeah, I don't know if we really have that nowadays.
Iggy says, I hate this season more weens than boobs. Is that accurate? We've seen Jason Isaacs.
We've seen one of the Vlad, I believe, the bald Russian man. We've seen his.
They showed his ween too?
He was, he was helicoptering his
Oh,
neck,
yeah, I guess right.
Intense helicoptering. And then we've seen Carrie Coon's breast twice.
Okay.
But I don't believe any other. Maybe our friend from French Canada's breasts as well. So I think we might be even on the ween boob count.
She really doesn't do it for me. Now listen, I know I don't do it for her. I'm well aware.
I believe is her name.
Was Nurse?
Laban. Her Instagram name is Laban. I know that.
Oh, wow. What a great name. And I just think it's a dental thing. I got to be honest.
Right. Even though Amy Lou Wood, who's our friend from England, has
interesting on both the dental situations.
Right. But her thing, I feel like matched with like the big puppy dog eyes is like, it's really something.
What a great casting.
Oh, that's the, you can complain about the season or anything, and I might be with you at the end of the season. In all 3 seasons, perfectly cast across the board. Not too big of stars where you have a lot of baggage with them.
Yeah.
You know, like even Walton Goggins, who's a huge star.
Sydney Sweeney wasn't a star when she got it.
Not like clearly not like she is now. And then even like Michael Imperioli be the only person you have like real baggage with, being on Sopranos for as long as he has. But like really good at like having people that you know, but like aren't like, oh, I know every single movie they've been in. Like Leslie Bibb's a perfect example. Like you've probably seen her in 5 different shows or movies, but you don't know exactly her characters.
That's a nice play. Yeah,
even Michelle Monaghan or Carrie Coon. So casting on White Lotus is always.
I find myself more attracted to Michelle Monaghan now than I did when she was in. What was the movie, The Heartbreak Kid with Ben Stiller?
Yeah, I think she's aged beautifully.
Yeah,
I think the blonde hair too. That's not.
I agree with you.
I don't think it's her natural hair color.
I agree with you.
It looks really good on her.
I agree with you.
I think all 3 of them being blonde hair is like, not an accident by any means. But she's awesome. The whole, across the board, especially.
I go back and watch episode 5 or 7 or whatever it is.
Especially even like when they cast the locals, like we were talking about the hotel manager who's a local, and then Mook and Guy Talk in this season. Really good casting. Mook, I understand why Guy Talk's simping as hard as I've ever seen the man simp, because she is just gorgeous.
This show always has a simp, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of needs a simp in a way.
It does need a simp.
Although season 1, I guess
it needs a mark.
Yeah. I'll be simpest. Oh my God.
The simpiest simp that's ever simped?
He got played. And Michael Imperioli tried to tell him, for as bad as a character as Michael Imperioli was playing, he was spot on. He's like, you're a mark, kid. He's like, I'll give you this money, but she's going to take it from you. And that's exactly what happened.
Jackson, let's shut this thing down.
Yeah, let's land the plane.
Jackson, the podcast is brought to you by James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency, Seth Goldcamp of Design, Air, Heating, and Cooling, and Mark Hanna of Evergreen Wealth Strategies online at evergreenstl.com. You are always welcome to email in. Anything is welcome. T. McKernan at InsideSTL.com. For Jackson Better Burkett, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been the Tim McKernan Show podcast.